And 3, 2, 1.
My name is Emily Perez. I'm 17 years old, and I live in New York City. More specifically, I live in Riverdale, which is it's like right past the tip of Manhattan. I have lived in New York City since I was about 6 months old, so like 16 and a half years if you want to get exact. So I have lived in a lot of different neighborhoods, but I'd say my current neighborhood, I like to call it like the suburban part of New York City. I feel like it's like a good mix between being in the city and like living in a suburban home. It's very quiet. There are a lot of parks. There are a lot of trees everywhere. But you still have like a couple apartment buildings, and you still have like a couple of houses and stuff. So and it's not like overcrowded. You still have to walk some ways to get to some stores and other places and parks and stuff. So I like to call it like a little suburban city. From my own experience, I'd say the incoming of or construction of like newer buildings and newer stores, or I guess just like really big noticeable changes in communities, in places where I have frequented when there are really big changes, when a really well-known store closes in that community. That's often something that is seen as a shock, and so because of that, then you start to think, well, why did this happen? What's going on here? Or even the construction of like high rises and really new, expensive, modern buildings that also kind of at least gives me like a hint that there's a process of gentrification that is happening in our community. That, and also I think you can very much see the different atmosphere based on the section of the neighborhood that you're in. And so like close to where I live, like I said, there are a lot of trees, there are a lot of parks nearby, but if you like walk up a couple blocks, then it feels more like you're in a city. There are bigger streets, there's more traffic, there are bigger buildings and all of that. You can very much see the gentrification that's going on in certain blocks, how vastly different they look in terms of the stores there, in terms of the buildings, the houses that are there, and also the people who live there.
My name's Alex. I'm 16 years old, and right now we're at Chelsea Riverside Park on a rainy day. I obviously dislike the gentrification. I think I'm very grateful for where I live and the privileges that come with that, but I understand that my neighborhood, my building, even my school has caused many people to be, dislocated from their homes. The price is going up, just a higher cost of living in general, which has larger systemic and societal effects. One of the first instances of gentrification in my neighborhood was either Chelsea Market or the High Line. That definitely caused the prices to go up because Chelsea didn't used to be a hot tourist spot. It didn't used to be like what we know of it today as. It used to be, where the projects were, and that's where they still are for a good portion of time. It wasn't always filled with these sort of new, hip, and trendy places. If I were to form an opinion right now, it would definitely be slowed down as opposed to stopped, because if it were to be stopped, we would need to fix a lot of deep-rooted things. However, if it were to be slowed down, I feel like that could be done on a much more individual level. I wouldn't say that gentrification is a necessary step in modernization/urbanization, but I do think it's inevitable in the sense that it's been experienced in so many different places around the world at so many different rates and scales. So I don't really think that it's a part of, just to reiterate what I said, I don't think it's a part of a necessary process. I think it's part of an inevitable process, especially at the rate that we're going at with modern society.
I'm 16 years old and I live in Bed-Stuy, Brooklyn, New York. Today we're sitting in front of Brooklyn Blend, a black-owned business. Bed-Stuy is very diverse and everyone is really friendly. We often have parties in the park where people get together. There's raffles, fundraisers, people have birthday parties and random celebrations in the park, so it brings a lot of people together. On the weekends there are also often pop-ups where small businesses can bring their items and sell them and introduce themselves to the community, and this is really beneficial for black-owned businesses. My neighborhood has been impacted by gentrification in the sense that it's brought many different groups of people here, so it's more diverse than how it was before. And obviously there are more expensive buildings, more stores, bigger stores, and this has also allowed small businesses to pop up and restaurants as well. I feel like the most effective as of late would be to get the city officials to pour more of their budget into funding public services, as well as giving loans to those who need it, especially with troubles paying the rent, as well as people themselves who are privileged donating to direct source streams of income for people who need it. It's hard to say if it's necessary for urban advancement, because I think that if people actually just funded these neighborhoods and gave them the money that they needed to grow and prosper, we wouldn't need gentrification.
But at the same time, I feel like the people doing the gentrifying aren't generous enough to do this.
So just awareness around the topic can help combat it. I think that, a lot of people, a lot of non-New Yorkers, when they think about New York, they, it's all sunshine and roses, or even current New Yorkers, sometimes they think, New York is the best place to be. But I really don't think a lot of people understand the complexities of New York City and their communities, and really how important they are, especially, when generations of families have lived there for so long. I think many people don't understand the impact that it has when families are forced to move and leave that community, which is honestly really disappointing, because there's a lot of character and culture and community that is built there. And